Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargav again. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. It is now a very well accepted fact, it is very well known that Chanda Kochhar, the tainted former CEO of ICICI Bank, was at the center of receipt of kickbacks, we would call them bribes, in respect of loans given by ICICI Bank to various unworthy and ineligible corporates, and those loans incidentally have turned bad, inflicting a huge loss on ICICI Bank. As per ICICI Bank itself, in the case of loans given to Videocon which have turned NPA, the loss to ICICI Bank is to the tune of 1,875 crores. And these kickbacks were not small amounts because the loans were not small amounts. And just as the loans ran into thousands of crores, the kickbacks received by the Kochhar family also ran into hundreds of crores. And this has been evident from the case of investigations that have gone on in the case of Essar as well as the Videocon group. Investigations have revealed that the Videocon group as well as the Essar group invested hundreds of crores, in fact over 400 crores to be precise, in the share capital of New Power Renewables, the company owned by Deepak Kochhar, husband of Chanda Kochhar. And these equity investments were made by these corporates by way of kickbacks. They were just returning back favors that were granted to them by Chanda Kochhar. It is also seen that these investments which came by way of share capital were meant to give a very legal garb to an illegal transaction, and that too in a tax-free manner, because these monies which were received by New Power Renewables came into its hands as a tax-free receipt, thus not only converting the ill-gotten gains of the Kochhars into official white money, but even not paying taxes for it. Investigations are going on, and one thing which is emerging is that these were not isolated cases. It was not just Videocon or Essar who were granted favors by Chanda Kochhar during her tenure, despite being ineligible for those very favors. In fact, the rules and regulations of RBI as well as ICICI's internal regulations were flouted for the purpose of giving these favors, which explains why the kickbacks were given and why they are so large. The inquiry that was conducted by Justice B.N. Sri Krishna is over, and it has concluded that Chanda Kochhar has been guilty of corporate demeanor. She has been guilty of not disclosing her interest, her husband's interest, by virtue of transactions between his company and borrowers of ICICI Bank. She has been held guilty of various such charges. Even now SEBI is probing into it. But while that is one part of the story, the other, more incriminating part of the story has to do with the ongoing investigation by CBI, Enforcement Directorate and the Income Tax Department into these allegations of loans given by ICICI Bank and kickbacks received by the Kochhar family in one form or the other. And the investigations are revealing that there is substance in what was always thought was happening. It has always been thought that these kickbacks, though not received directly by Chanda Kochhar, they have been received by her relatives. And the ongoing investigations reveal that it has been so. Investigations now indicate that at the center of this entire saga of loans for kickbacks has been a firm called Avista Advisory, a consulting firm owned by Rajiv Kochhar, the brother-in-law of Chanda Kochhar. And it is through this firm that kickbacks were routed into the Kochhar family. Avista Advisory has had offices at Mumbai and Singapore, and its website says that it is an integrated financial services company providing a comprehensive range of services with particular emphasis on investment banking and asset management. It was always very popularly known in the trade, banking and financial circles of Mumbai that if you had any work to be done out of ICICI Bank, particularly where it violated rules and regulations, then the place to go to was Avista Advisory. And the reason was very, very obvious. Its owner Rajiv Kochhar is the brother-in-law of Chanda Kochhar, and rules would get flouted if you went and got work done through Avista Advisory. Investigations have also shown that ICICI Bank officially gave a number of lucrative consulting assignments, particularly in the domain of restructuring of loans, to Avista Advisory. It was a clear case of favoritism and nepotism. And the reason was very obvious again. In restructuring, there involves a very high sense of discretion to be exercised, and that was exercised by Chanda Kochhar in her capacity as the CEO of ICICI Bank in respect of restructuring assignments that were handled by Avista Advisory, and favors were granted. This list of companies whose loans were restructured or in which assistance was given by Avista Advisory and where ICICI was the banker involved, this includes the likes of Jaypee Group, Bhushan Group, Suzlon, as well as the Sterling Group. There are many others. If you go to the website of Avista, at one point of time, all these company names were mentioned, but a recent scrutiny of his website shows that the names have now been deleted, maybe for very obvious incriminating reasons, linking payments to the fact that they were their clients. What was always known popularly in the trade circles of Mumbai has now come out in the open, and that is in the form of a letter from a whistleblower from Singapore. This whistleblower from Singapore writes a letter to ED and CBI alleging and stating that Avista Advisory was merely a conduit for receiving kickbacks for the various dubious sanctions and restructurings that were sanctioned by ICICI Bank during the tenure of Chanda Kochhar. And mind you, these were sanctioned in violation of their own rules and regulations. The whistleblower says that Avista Advisory had companies in tax havens like Cayman Islands and Singapore, and monies were received into those companies by way of kickbacks, either by way of remittances from India or even by way of international hawala transactions made into these companies, and the amounts received were only by way of consideration for favors granted to ineligible, unworthy borrowers of ICICI Bank. The whistleblower in fact names 10 such companies which are owned by the Kochhars in tax havens whose purpose was to receive such kickbacks. The details are incriminating, and thus it has been requested in this letter to the investigation agencies to look into the matter and come to the truth. As expected, unsurprisingly, Rajiv Kochhar denies these allegations flatly. But then, even Chanda Kochhar had denied all the allegations that were made against her, and they were finally found to be correct, leading to her unceremonious exit from ICICI Bank. A similar case seems to be happening in the case of Avista Advisory, because from the incriminating details that have been given and the nexus that is very clearly there between loans sanctioned and amounts received by the Avista Advisory, it is very clear that there was a quid pro quo, there were kickbacks, and the reason was favors were given for reasons of ineligibility of the parties concerned. Further investigations hopefully will reveal the actual picture and tell us how big was this saga of loans given and bribes received, which they call kickbacks. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
HW News Network today is a year and a half old. Thanks to your support, thanks to your love, we've grown. We require your support a little more. What we request you to do is to download our free app. Our app is in Hindi, English and Marathi. We promise to update you with the latest news, views, analysis, interview. We also have a live TV going in that. If you download our app, we will get advertisers. And if we get advertisers, we'll get revenue. We get revenue, we can serve you better. So once again, please do support us. Please download our app. Namaskar.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, Well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.